Leg locks don't work in MMA. There are a lot of jiu-jitsu legends that are still of the mindset that leg locks are ineffective, at least in relation to mixed martial arts.
If I attack your foot, you're still free to knock me out. If your body goes down to my foot, I can still come close to you or stand up and I'll punch you. So it's not a good position to be in a real fight.
It's widely speculated that in putting yourself in a good position to attack the legs, positions such as single leg X or the Ashi position, that you open yourself up to strikes and further damage. In fairness, we have seen quite a few examples of this happening now. Ryan Hall, a specialist in leg attacks, found himself in the wrong position when attacking Ilia Topuria and ended up paying a hefty price.
He wasn't being defensively responsible.
Another jiu-jitsu legend, Gary Tonden, again opened himself up to strikes from the single leg X position and ended up being put to sleep with a number of clean shots from Tan Lee for the One Championship featherweight title. So yes, there are definitely clear examples of attempted leg attacks going wrong, there's no denying that. But here's what's wrong with that logic. That happens with other submission attempts all of the time, but we never say it's the fault of the position itself. Rose Namajunas tried to secure a Kimura against Jessica Andrade, and that led immediately to her being dumped on her head and subsequently knocked out. But we don't hear people criticising the Kimura trap as a position. Rampage Jackson famously had his own way of getting out of triangle attempts. Maybe not the most conventional way, but his opponent was left unconscious from the slam. Or maybe it was the headbutt straight afterwards. But either way, we don't criticise triangle attempts. As a less extreme example of this, Glover Teixeira in his fight against Jiri lands a huge right hand and seems to be very close to finishing the fight to retain his light heavyweight belt. But he sits back for a guillotine and ultimately loses the position and the fight. But we don't end up saying that guillotines are ineffective and that you should never try them. Just that particular application of that guillotine didn't work that time. But hopefully you get my point by now. We also have countless examples of leg attacks working which we need to consider. Both of those people we saw getting knocked out at the beginning of the video have several submission wins in MMA. Ryan Hall, who we mentioned earlier, has a heel hook win over BJ Penn. A world-renowned BJJ black belt and a former UFC champion. So the other common argument that leg attacks only work on people that aren't experienced in those positions makes simply no sense either. You even have examples of people like Yuki Nakai back in the 90s using leg attacks to beat a much bigger opponent in Gerard Gordeau. Even with Gordeau using tactics to inflict damage that aren't even allowed today, such as eye gouging and strikes to the back of the head. In short, we've seen multiple heel hooks, calf slicers, knee bars, straight ankle locks and many other submissions used effectively for a while in MMA throughout its history. So it's illogical to say that they don't work at all.
Leg straight.
What does make complete sense is to start classing leg attacks as a risk. But as we've seen from some of the other examples, there are risks in losing position with nearly every submission. With advocates like John Danaher in the sport preaching about the use of leg entanglements to control the opponent's entire body, I would bet we're going to see more leg attacks in the future of MMA as fighters become more accustomed to the options available to them. And I, for one, am all for it.
He didn't let go.